Well, good morning. This is a trial video to see if I can figure out how to make this camera and this computer work so that I can do some instruction videos trying to communicate the value of the Hebrew alphabet, the Hebrew consonants, the words that were recorded for us by our Old Testament prophets that are ultimately spiritual messages with a spiritual value. Unfortunately, those spiritual messages with their spiritual value have been translated over the eons into different languages, and every time that word or verse got retranslated into another language, another layer, religious thought, was added on to that original Hebrew idea. And so over the centuries, even the millennia, we have been struggling to try and understand what these verses, what the purity of these verses were trying to communicate to us. And so as these concepts, I call them Hebrew concepts, as they become more revealed to us, as the Spirit of God reveals to us the original value of what these verses were communicating, we try to put those words, those revelations into our more current languages so that we can communicate them, directly translating a Hebrew word or phrase or thought into a single German or English or Greek word or phrase or thought is, if not very, very difficult, in most cases impossible. I have said that it sometimes takes an entire paragraph to communicate what was the thought behind a single word. That for me is not a burden. That's my passion. That's what I love to do. However, I realize that most people who find frustration with not only the English translations of the Bible, but trying to understand what those English translations were communicated, I understand their frustration. So my passion is to try to unlock some of the prisons of thought that cloud the understanding of these original prophetic messages. And once the simplicity of the light of the heart of our Father is revealed in one of these messages, everyone embraces it, everyone accepts it, everyone benefits from it. So we're going to try to use this opportunity to communicate some of these concepts. And in this beginning video, we're going to start with the word Dah-Var. Dah-Var. I'm going to spell it phonetically in English first. Dah-Var. I hope that's showing up on the video. That is how you phonetically pronounce this Hebrew word. That's how the word is spelled in Hebrew. The dalet, the bet, made that a little too long there, didn't I? A little overkill. And the resh. Each one of these Hebrew letters represents a conceptual understanding. All Hebrew words are derived or find their origination in three-letter root verbs. This word is a three-letter root. All three-letter words are not roots, but they all derive from a three-letter root verb. Now I'm going to try and give you an understanding of what this word is communicating, because we have translated this into English as word. And translating it into English as word excuse me, does not do justice, because this word is communicating a spiritual concept. Translating it into the English word that we use like we use salt, we throw it around on everything, does not communicate the value of this word. So let me see if I can try to illustrate what I believe this word, the value of the spiritual value of this word is for us. Dah-Var, as translated in word, literally means to put into order. To put into, and I'm going to even add here divine, because most people understand that word. To put into divine order. Now, that's not order like a commandment. And here's the best example I know to try to communicate this. Everybody that's ever been to Sunday school, and everybody that's never been to Sunday school, understands that there are 10 commandments. 10 commandments. And yet nowhere in the Hebrew scriptures does the phrase 10 commandments show up. Religion has attributed this. What does show up is 10 Dah-Var. Let me try to illustrate that. In issuing to the wandering Jews in the wilderness, who had just been liberated from Egyptian bondage and still didn't understand what was going on, Yahweh wanted to communicate to the people en masse. And so he calls them together at Sinai, and he begins to speak, and the people begin to hear a communication that, if you read Exodus 19 and 20, and then in the comparison chapters in Deuteronomy, you realize that the people were terrified of what was happening, and they ran screaming, putting their fingers in their ears and telling Moses, you go back and see what this guy's got to say, but we're not listening to this anymore, and we will not hear this word again. The word that's translated, or that is issued in Exodus concerning this situation, is Dah-Var. Orderly arrangements. Originally, the opportunity was to establish 10 orderly arrangements for conduct that, if adhered to, if embraced and accepted as a personal individual lifestyle, and adhered to, they would establish a level of godly contact, godly construct, that would prevent the individual Jews from violating their neighbors' rights and privileges. That's all it was for. But the word is Dah-Var, and it literally means to put things into their divine or godly or spiritual order, and to adhere to that spiritual order as a basis for your daily conduct.